Welcome to watch the Multi-Cooperation Robot Training course. After startup, first click the language switch in the upper right corner. Find and click the English option to enter the English operation interface. When startup is complete, click Start to enter the palletizing workstation. The first thing you will see is the Run page. On the Run page, there is a configuration mode. First, click Configuration mode. Enter Recipe settings. Click here to create a new configuration and input a name. Recipe names do not support special characters except for underscores. The default password to enter a recipe is 1. After the name is entered, click OK. It will automatically enter the newly created recipe. The first page is the basic operation instructions. It prompts that you need to first set the box dimensions and also set whether label enablement is needed. Modify label direction, etc. The second step is to teach the pickup point. Then set the pallet. Finally, arrange the stacking pattern. First, click the basic configuration page. On the left are the setting buttons for enabling the pallet and the setting button for enabling label direction. When you need to enable label direction, turn it on. If not needed, you can turn it off. Left and right pallets can be enabled separately. When using only the left side or only the right side, turn off the unused side. After these two sides are set, first enter the box dimension settings. The box dimensions are in the central graphic area, with indicators for the positions of side 1 and side 2. Look at the dimension parameter area on the left or right side. Set the box dimensions. After setting, it will display in the corresponding graphic area the length of the corresponding side. The orientation of the box must match the incoming material. For example, if the incoming material on the conveyor line has its long side horizontal at 300 millimeters, then set it according to that direction. If the long side is 200 millimeters, then modify it to 200 millimeters. Then adjust the dimensions of side 1 and side 2 so that it matches the actual orientation of the incoming box. The usage of label direction. When you turn on label enablement and click label direction change, the arrow will point to the actual label placement side. It must match the label orientation of the incoming material. After box dimension settings are complete, you can confirm the pallet size. The pallet has 3 preset sizes: 1.2 meter, 1.1 meter, and 1 meter. You can also use a custom size. However, the maximum palletizing range must not exceed 1.3 meter, because exceeding 1.3 meter will cause reachability problems. Now select the 1.2 meter pallet. Because it is currently single line, only the left side here can set pallet parameters. When set to dual line mode, and when the incoming material on the two lines is different, the left and right pallets can be set to different sizes separately. In dual line mode, with different incoming material on the two lines, the box dimensions for the left and right lines can also be set separately. Next, teach the pickup point. Select End Effector mode. Using Cartesian teaching method, move the suction cup above the box. Ensure the left, right, front, and rear spacing is completely equal. The suction cup surface contacts the box, positioning it so it can actually pick up the box. Click Record Current Point. After completing basic configuration, enter the stacking pattern configuration page. To configure the corresponding stacking pattern, on the stacking pattern configuration page's initial page, you can manually set the pattern. Under the pallet selection area, there is a choice between single and continuous. When single is selected, one click places only one box. You need to click again on the box's direction or label. To place another box, click once more to place another. When continuous is selected, click and then click place to repeatedly arrange box positions multiple times. In the visual view area on the right, the first is the stacking layer operation. Select layer A, that is the current stacking situation of layer A. Select layer B, that is the stacking situation of layer B. Currently, layer B is empty. Here, layers A and B refer to the currently active stacking layer indication. In layer A, select box gap. First, input the box gap dimension. The purpose of the box gap is when boxes may interfere or press against each other, you appropriately need to adjust the spacing between boxes, giving them a certain gap. You can use the box gap function to adjust it. Its usage is: first, click Component Adjust Gap to turn the function on. Next, select the box ES to adjust. You can single select or multi-select. Third step, click the direction. Because it is a step function, it does not record cumulative adjustment positions. It only moves 5 mm each time. After moving, click the check mark in the lower left corner to close gap adjustment. Finally, click Save Parameters. The adjustment is then complete. Pallet margin setting. The setting of pallet margin is mainly to expand the palletizable boundary or shrink the actual palletizable boundary. Expansion means setting it to a negative number. For example, with a setting of -20. The actually reachable area will exceed the pallet by 20 mm. When set to 20, the palletizable range will be smaller than the actual pallet dimensions. The outermost ring will have a 20 mm boundary. That will not be palletized. The above is the setting of pallet margin. Using this function, you can adjust the actual palletizing boundary on the pallet. Starting stacking pattern. When the A and B stacking patterns are set, specify whether a layer is the first layer or B pattern is the first layer. The most commonly used is the automatic stacking layout function. Click to enter automatic stacking layout. Inside there are stacking pattern types, box distribution, and front face direction. The first pattern type includes checkerboard, spiral, and row or column. These are the three commonly used types. Their shapes basically match the graphic display. The role of box distribution is to adjust the distribution of boxes on the pallet. One is centered. All boxes contract towards the center, squeezing together. The other is boxes based on the pallet's outer boundary, completely tiled on. The pallet, the gap in the middle is determined by the number of boxes for palletizing. Front face direction refers to the direction of the label. There are uniform and outward. Uniform means all label directions face the same way. Outward means all labels point outwards to the surroundings. Stacking pattern edge alignment refers to when in A and B layers, if box parameters like length and width are different. Often the A and B patterns' outer boundaries do not overlap. This will result in sometimes the A layer or B layer protruding more than the other pattern's outer boundary. In this situation, you can use edge alignment to force the A and B patterns to align, but at this time, one of the patterns will have a large gap in the middle, which you need to check yourself. The second is pattern selection, or B alternating or entire stack A entire stack B. After automatic stacking calculation is complete, it will give A and B to patterns. In some scenarios, only the A pattern is used, or only the B pattern is used. As needed, you can click to set as entire stack A or entire stack B. Maximum stack height can be customized. The gap here and the gap mentioned before have a certain difference. Here it refers to the absolute gap between all boxes during automatic stacking layout. It also applies when boxes have protrusions and interference avoidance is needed. In this case, you can give a value after these settings are complete. Click Next. It will generate a stacking pattern. You can then see the appearance of the A pattern and B pattern. Here you can also directly limit the number of layers by restricting to 5 layers or 4 layers, directly specifying the layer count. Here there is a maximum palletizing layer number. The maximum layer number is set based on the default layer height mentioned earlier. Then click OK. Click Apply this layout. Here the set number of layers will appear. The layer number here can also be modified. The current palletizing layer. After all settings are complete, click Save. At this point, an unreachable error may appear. Click OK. Enter the quality test. Click Test. Open Abnormal Pallet Selection, choose Left Stack. Click Select Layer. It will show Left Pallet. Left side unreachable. Click Right Pallet. Right side outermost row unreachable. At this point, click in Stacking Pattern Configuration. To reduce the layer number again, click Save. After modifying the layer number, the quality test succeeds. Here the test also shows reachable. Reachability testing is complete. Click to enter. Extended configuration. The first area in extended configuration is the conveyor line points. Here there is a pickup weight point. The point to note is, after teaching the pickup point on the basic page, the pickup weight point will be automatically calculated by offsetting one box dimension. However, if you modify the pickup weight point again later, this pickup weight point will no longer be automatically calculated. The pickup weight point is only automatically calculated the first time a new recipe is created and the first teaching is done. When modifying the pickup point a second time, you also need to modify the pickup weight point. The two pickup transition points are mainly for optimizing trajectory or avoiding interference. There is a simple explanation here. Below is suction cup zone enable. By default, only zone 1 is enabled at this time when teaching or adjusting the pickup weight point. You can directly on the page turn the suction cup on or off to test if the adjusted point can actually pick up. the packaging box. At the same time, Zone 1 also needs to be turned on. Otherwise, when the machine runs automatically, it cannot find the suction cup that needs to be activated. The next two lines are the transition points for the left pallet and right pallet. The transition point 1 for the left pallet and right pallet is set by the system by default. This point can also be changed based on the actual box size and height. The point can be adjusted if, for example, the box height is relatively high. You may find the first box placed too low. In this case, you can adjust the point higher or adjust the point outward toward the pallet edge, because an overly large box might, during movement toward the pallet, when moving toward the pallet, possibly have some interference with itself. Therefore, adjustment of the left pallet and right pallet transition points is needed. The subsequent to transition points are used for trajectory optimization. First, move to the pickup point. Hold to move. Then in extended configuration, find the pickup transition point configuration. You can choose joint or end effector movement. This function can be used when interference exists. After teaching, click Record Current Point. This means the teaching is successful. We can teach up to 2 pickup transition points. The transition points for the left stack and right stack can also be set separately. For example, this position or the right stack this position. When there is an interfering object at a certain position on the pallet, you can add 2 transition points to bypass it, but usually these 2 points do not need to be used. After setting this point, if you do not turn on the enable, it is ineffective. Lift synchronization. Its role is that when the robot executes points, the lift column also moves simultaneously. That is, the external axis and the robot move simultaneously. If lift synchronization is not turned on, the robot's external axis executes the lift function first, and then the robot executes the motion function. The right side screen shows, in the case of a lift column, the enable and disable buttons for the lift column. The plus and minus below are for adjusting the lift column's current position. Enable the lift column first, before you can move the lift column. Hold for fast 0 return can make the lift column return to its home position. Background parameters. Left stack plate coordinate system offset. Left pallet and right pallet coordinate systems. Their directions are as shown in the figure below. The commonly used one is the Z direction. The main purpose of the Z direction is because different pallets have different heights. The default value in the system is fixed. But if the pallet is higher or the pallet is lower, when placing the first layer of boxes, they may be suspended or may crush the cardboard box. It needs to be adjusted via the Z value. Negative Z makes the cardboard box closer to the pallet. Positive Z makes the cardboard box farther from the pallet. The second part of parameters, maximum vacuum wait time. When the robot reaches the pickup point and grasps the box, if it exceeds the default 5,000 milliseconds, and the vacuum signal is not yet established, the machine will report a grasp failure error. At this time, you need to adjust the vacuum pressure, or check if the air pressure is sufficient, or if the lower limit value of the vacuum gauge is set too high, causing insufficient vacuum establishment, or if the suction cup itself is not in contact with the box, causing air leakage. The second is vacuum release delay. When the robot places the box on the pallet, it will perform blow-off. The blow-off time is default set to 300 milliseconds in the system. It can also be adjusted by yourself, lengthened or shortened. Automatic lift height. when the stacking pattern height for palletizing is relatively high. You can specify at what pallet stacking height the lift column should be enabled, with the lift column not moving. The robot can palletize to above 1.5 meter height when the palletizing height is about to exceed this value. The lift column will participate in the action, needing to lift the height. The suction cup, after picking up the box, will lift with a spacing. This distance is the default box dimension plus the number set here. So 300 millimeters is a safe position. The initial position here is in the basic page. There is a button hold to return to home. The position returned to as home is the point set here. At this point, all parameters have been set. The stacking pattern has been configured. Enter the run mode. Click Select Recipe. Select the already set recipe. Click OK. Set the global speed ratio. Enter Start. The first page. When all buttons show their indicator lights are green, you can proceed to the next step. Robot is powered on, box suction cup is released. If not, click here to release suction cup. Before clicking to release suction cup, you need to confirm whether there is a packaging box on the suction cup. If there is, please manually remove it first. Here, hold to return to home. Let the robot return to its home position. You need to observe whether the robot has any collisions during the return home process. If there is a collision, you need to return to the initial page. Enter the teaching position here. Manually adjust the robot's current position through joint or end effector mode, making it enter a non-interfering area. Then click Hold to Home. Return to robot mode. Reset the collision. If there are other abnormalities, check the log and export the log. Send it to professional after-sales personnel for handling. In case of collision, a loss of enable might occur. At this time, you need to manually reset it. Move to a point that will not be interfered with. Perform ray power on, then return to the palletizing workstation. Similarly, the external axis also needs to click Hold to Zero Return. Let it return to 0 point. Click Next. Here it will display. The box is already placed on the current pallet. If the pallet has been cleared, you need to click Manual Clear Stack to clear the actual count, making it consistent with the pallet. Similarly, the second time is for the right pallet. Detect the right pallet. Click Continue Run. At this time, the robot enters operation. You can click Pause to pause the current machine operation. You can click Continue. The robot will continue running. You can also click Stop to stop the current palletizing, if or when palletizing is complete. The running status will display as waiting for clear. At this time, you need to move the pallet out. Then place a new pallet. After placement is complete, click the Clear Stack button. Click Start to go through the run process again. The above steps are the entire operation and running of the palletizing workstation.